Yeah, and that should be the intro. I was literally waiting to do that. Yo! Hey, what up, yo? I am Dion Lack, and this is
Twilla.
we are Lactose Entertainment. This is FIXIT-N-Post. We had some uncomfortable stories. Should girls still withhold their virginity? Knowing what the society and how it's normalized now. It's no big of a deal. I don't want my daughter having sex. But it's a tough conversation because we know, as adults, we know the repercussions. And I'm sure children know, teenagers know. But how do you feel about the longevity of a virginity, and when will it, and does it become like a feat, or like, you know what, I've reached 45 and I'm still a virgin, so it's not worth it no more? So how you feel about that?
That is you and these loaded questions. So
I ask again. We'll break up the question. Should women? Is there a limit for women to withhold sex?
Easy. This is easy. It's their body. It's our bodies. We can do whatever we want to. So, so to that question, I don't think like if a woman is 50 and never engaged in sex, she does not have to, if that's her thing that she wants to, if that's her role. And again, if a person is 18 and wants to engage in sex, it's their choice. I also think that the conversation should kind of be like shifted, because it's always like a focus on girls holding on to their virginities, but nobody's telling boys to hold on to their virginities. It's like who are these boys sleeping with if you're telling girls to hold on to, I mean, if they're sleeping with each other, that's their business too. But I'm saying
that's a word right there. That's a word.
That double standard.
Say that again.
What part?
About the boys. Because you said, I like that. What you said was...
we tell girls to hold on to their virginities, but we don't tell boys to hold on to their virginities. So who are these boys sleeping with?
There's some girl.
There's a girl. I mean, again, if they're sleeping with other boys, that's fine. But I'm saying, like, in a heterosexual normative way, that where you're telling girls to hold on to their virginities, don't let these boys, these fast boys, come out, fool you into sleeping with them. And then, but we tell boys just the opposite, like, hey, you gotta sow your wild oats, young man. Like, this is just natural. Boys will be boys.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's like, what is a girl supposed to do? And then and being a girl who held on to, like, my V card until I was good and grown, is just like the idea of, like, virginity almost became like a burden. It was like a thing, like, almost like, I am not a prize to be won. It became your identity. It was my identity, because people looked at it and be like, oh, like, first you tell a guy and you be like, you okay, all right, I see. So you a virgin. Like, it was a conversation, and then it was like, oh, she's a good girl, she's a virgin. Like, everything was wrapped into my virginity, which is weird. But is
that a good or bad thing?
I think as a society, I think it's a weird thing. Like why do we care so much about a person's personal choice, their sexuality?
So if you replace the word virginity with Christian, is that a problem?
I think especially as a young adult Christian, it also became annoying. Kind of like, how Jesus said, Peter would deny me 3 times before the sun would rise. Be like, oh, you that guy that hangs with Jesus. Oh, you a Christian. Oh, you one of him. And he denied Christ 3 times. Follow me. I felt like for a while, like, I kind of, like, some people were so focused on, oh, she a Christian. Oh, she a Christian. Like, it felt like a pointing me out like bad thing. Like, it's so like
That's game.
That's what it was.
That's game because they want you to see how they want you to counteract what they're saying. If it's like saying, like if we're smoking, like, oh no, she's a good girl, she don't smoke. They want you to be like, no.
All the time these little people are trying to do reverse psychology.
Yes.
Shut up! Somebody should have told me that.
Yes, because
it was just annoying.
It's an insecurity in themselves for them to say, like, hey, you want some of this, this fried chicken soaked in soy sauce? They like, no, she don't eat that stuff. She's vegan, and it's like, no, I've ate that before.
It's just, yeah, okay. So thanks for putting me on to game years later, Dion. Could have used you as a friend in college, high school.
Are you crying?
Middle school. But no, I think as a society we put such a burden on a woman's sexuality. Like we tell women what we're supposed to, like, women are supposed to look like this. They're supposed to do like this. All, like, for a long time, I haven't really checked for magazines like that, but it used to be like all the ways to please your man, all the things that you need to do. It was like everything about a woman's identity was based on how to please a man. And then like anytime like a relationship is going through trouble, the conversation was like, well, girl, did you do so-and-so? Did you try to do that? It's like based on like a woman pleasing a man. So it's like we can't be too fast. You can't be overly experienced because then you're a hoe. And then, but if you're not doing the right things in your relationship, then you're the reason that your relationship is crumbling because, girl, you got to try something new. It's just.
Well, there is a very fine foundation of how relationships work. Mm-hmm. Every relationship is different. Mm-hmm. Most foundation relationships is based off of communication, open do's and don'ts of that particular relationship, pet peeves, compromising, and everything else is like based on that person's preferences. So when you says how to please your man, I'm certain that it's a bunch of foundation things.
No, it's all sex. Have you ever read these magazines?
No, why would I read it?
I mean,
why would I want to read these magazines based off how to treat my man?
I mean, at least be like, you could go and be like, oh, nah, babe, don't do none of that. Like, that don't even make sense. Like, who we get these relationships?
I haven't watched The Notebook. I know that movie's based off.
You ever seen The Notebook?
No. Everybody said it's a chick flip, and I was like, yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's sexism.
You just gonna make it awkward?
I'm gonna make it real.
I'm very sexismist.
You have 2 daughters. You can't afford to be.
I seen the movie, man. Come on, man. Gosh. Seen the movie.
Did you cry?
No. So the question is, should we? Is sex and virginity more open now? To the fact that why are people having so here we go. Is it open? Mm-hmm. And should we tell? I'm sure students and kids know about the repercussions of sex, but that's the same as far as like food. That's the same as far as like, movies. But has sex opened up the new rights of like, gay rights or, legalizing marriage, gay marriages or.
Let's put it this
weed.
way. Because I think every generation talks about sex like it's something that's foreign that we didn't encounter in middle school or whatever. And so I know for sure I had a friend who was pregnant in 6th grade. So that means she was having sex with somebody. I don't know, I don't know what the situation was. If it was a boyfriend or, a different type of situation. But sex was not a foreign thing. We first started having the sex talk as girls in 4th grade in my elementary school. Mm-hmm. And then again as all fifth graders had that talk, and then you had to take another class in sixth grade. So it was like people are having sex in middle school. And if you talk, we talk about our parents' generation, they knew people who were having sex when they were young. And then our grandparents' generation, you go there, they were getting married when they were 12.
So let's define marriage. So people save themselves for marriage. Mm-hmm. I don't really remember any ceremonial participation in the Bible when no one's like it was pretty much like, I have sex with you, you're now my wife.
Nah, you remember that ceremony with Jacob?
That's what I'm saying. It's like it was a lot of times where they just had sex with a woman. It's like, you're my wife now.
I mean, just because that wasn't necessarily the highlighted.
When did ceremonial events and
it's cultural. Ceremonial events are cultural, but I'm saying the very first wedding that I can think of in the Bible is when Jacob was forced to marry or just tricked into marrying Leah. He didn't know that he had the wrong wife until he woke up the next morning. They had a ceremony. Her face was just covered until the next morning.
Ah, yes. Yep. But that was, yeah, you're right.
So, I mean, like, anytime you go before God, like, it doesn't have to be a ceremony. You could go to the courthouse. But, like, the whole...
Why wait for marriage?
Okay.
Why wait to have sex for marriage?
I got you. Because I do think that there is some value and some merit into waiting and holding out until marriage.
And what is the value?
I think that everything that was instructed biblically was to help protect us. So,
what if they don't follow religion?
If they don't follow religion, I can't give you these guidelines, but you're asking me my opinion.
Yeah.
So basically, I think, and this first point is in outside marriage. When you enter a relationship, especially young people, you enter sex. Let's say you enter sex, a sexual relationship. There is something physically that happens that bonds you with that person, right? Mm-hmm. And I'll say it in a way like, and we can say that's not true, but when girls be like, they first have sex, a lot of times with their first is their person that they trusted, and offers some sort of security, and they have a bond with. So you don't want to just have that relationship with anybody, but also think about, like, as a person growing up, like as a person entering marriage, and people used to get married a lot younger, let's keep that too. Entering marriage, that's just a special bond that you two can relate to. It's a very romantic ideal. Right. So it's the romantic ideal, but it's also like it protects you. The idea of you just having sex with one person means that you're limiting yourself to disease. There's a whole bunch of stuff in that. It wasn't just like, let's be cruel and say you can only have sex once you get married, but having sex within the confines of marriage limited the chance that you would get disease, limited the chance that you would be heartbroken, protects you in those type of ways and values. I think it's just a guideline to help you protect yourself as a human being. And I think God gave us a lot of guidelines because we as humans needed it. We trip ourselves up on lots of things, period.
Cool.
That's my personal opinion.
I see the value of waiting, but you have to understand, when a man hears a woman is a virgin, it feels like, I have to see if I could be the one, and it's very selfish approach, because it's like, oh my God, this girl is 31 years old, no man has ever touched her. Mm-hmm. It's like, I have to see if I could be the one.
Why do you think that men are like that's the response? Do you think that's a response that's like innately every man instinctually has, or do you think that's a societal thing that men have been taught?
It's we're go-getters. We feel like we have to be the one.
But
like,
did somebody tell you that?
No, it's in our DNA. Like I get this analogy all the time. If a woman says, nobody has ever touched that ceiling up there, that all the men has came into my house, nobody has ever touched that ceiling, I'm immediately gonna look up and say, really? Can I just stand up and see how tall it is? Can I stretch my arm out? And she's like, no, don't even stand up. I'm like, I'm letting you know that I practically can touch this ceiling without even raising my arm. I could probably touch with my elbow.
So I think that conversations that you and I have in the past, I often be like, why do you make men sound like animals that can't contain themselves? Like, give men more credit.
No, I wouldn't say but we have animal instincts. Men have animal instincts.
Humans in general have animal instincts, but we know how to restrain it and bring it in. That's what makes us human.
So anybody who goes after something has this dog fire desire inside of them that feels like I have to, without a doubt, get to this point, and I'm going to do it. So if it's career, if it's money, if it's life, sex, like it's hard to cut all the keep going all this, but cut that off.
Well, tell me this: do you feel like because society, let's go back to what we were talking about earlier, how women are like trained, told that they need to abstain, and men are like, hey, get as many, basically have body counts, basically are trained to do that, and young men, if you don't do that, you must be gay, all these things that men are taught by society about other men around them. And I know I talk a lot about toxic masculinity, or how men are raised and don't even know how we're contributing to this rape culture by doing this injustice to our young boys and how we raise them. Do you feel like any of those things that you've been taught or that you've been seeing, that basically you've been conditioned to do your whole life, come into play when you have these those thoughts about she a virgin, let me see what I can.
Well, it's not just virginities. We're not going
or women in
after
general.
virginity.
Yeah.
No, it's the culture. Men have been raised by the media, and most media outlets, I think outlets, but TV shows,
uncles, everybody
had multiple women.
Yeah.
Music videos.
Right.
And it's this is what we were looking at as kids. And to see it still playing out as we were, it's so this is a format that we've been raised with, of having multiple women, or having that desire to see if I could possibly.
So this is what I'm always so that's what I'm talking about when I say, is it instinctual or is it societal? And I think some of the answers is some of the ways that men have been taught to think have been through society. And so I think that society has done men an injustice and women an injustice. And now we're at a point where we could talk about toxic masculinity, rape culture, because these things are actually impeding on how women are able to either freely move around within certain spaces, or how we're able to date, or the expectation that we have upon just as much as media has ruined what a healthy relationship should look like for men with women, is ruined. It's over romanticized. Women are entering marriages thinking it's supposed to be every rom-com that we've ever seen, and it's supposed to be happy ever after, and it doesn't talk about the work, and it makes women look like we're supposed to be super women, because now we know that women can have jobs and do well and excel in careers, but they're also supposed to come home and cook and clean and take care of the kids, which is like you're asking women to do 2.5 full-time jobs all the time and to be this perfect woman. And it's like society has thrown all these images at us of what this perfection looks like, or what we're supposed to enter, what men are supposed to have, what women are supposed to have. And I think it's really hurting like relationships.
Well, I don't think you would agree because you're not a man, but I think the pressure of being a man is more difficult than being a woman.
I think there's a lot of pressure for it to be a man. I wouldn't compare it, be like, oh, it's harder for a man or it's harder for a woman. I think we both have our own weights and burdens that we have to carry, and I think it feels heavy in our own way, you know? Like, and I think a lot of it is unfair. But because, like, you're raising daughters, like, what would you like to see what world would you like to see your daughters in? And then what would a healthy relationship for your daughters look like?
I would like for my children to understand that boys are being raised in a very toxic environment. There's a lot of game. I always tell my children about their value. They're beautiful. They don't need to hear someone telling them that to receive what they want. I give them confidence every day. I let them know that God is their guiding light, and they don't need to desire any sort of compliment or, appeasement for somebody to get something from them. I'm not nervous about what's to come, but I want them to know that I am there for them. And I was a boy, I was a man, I'm a man, and I've seen both sides, and I don't want them heartbroken from some sort of sour game going wrong. But I have prepared my oldest for what to expect in high school, and the games that boys play, because we play a lot of games. But I want them to make wise decisions.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't. I don't want to hold. Yes, I want them to be a virgin, until they're married. Yeah. But it's like the odds of that happening in this society. But I want them to have that decision versus it being my decision.
Right. So because you want that for your children, you want that for them. Like, there's a lot of things our parents want for us that we don't always do, right? But can't you hold that expectation for them?
Absolutely.
And so just, to be like, this is my expectation.
And remind them the repercussions.
Yeah.
That's it. I gotta let you know this will, I can't say will, this can happen. This is a high % chance that this is going to happen if you do X, Y, and Z. I want to keep reminding them that of irresponsibility and the repercussions of having unprotected and premarital sex.
Now, if you had a son who's about to enter high school,
same thing. They have the same repercussions. Unprotection and possible pregnancies could lead to a lifetime of turmoil or a new responsibility.
Would you look at your son differently if he graduated from high school still a virgin?
Would I look at him differently?
Yeah. Like, what is wrong with this guy?
No, not at all. Like it is hypothetically speaking, but like, you got to know your child. If he's like, oh, this boy, he's been in these streets, he's a playboy. You start looking at the circle like, are you like trying to, or are you purposely not, or Like, all right, I see the women coming around, so I need for you to know that this can happen by you doing this. I see the sign.
But what if he's just a sneaky son? Like, he don't bring, like, so I guess my question.
I was a sneaky son.
So, yeah, so my question is, like, of course, you just said that you would have the same expectation of your son. And if he was, like, you see that he's a playboy, do you pull him back and be like, look, I didn't raise you to be this person. These are women's hearts that you're playing with. It's fun for you, but it could be more serious. You know, like, do you reel it back in?
I have no preparation for that conversation. This is my first time actually preparing myself to have that for something that has never, not even close to happening.
Yeah, because I know we focus so much on our daughters and what we want. And it makes sense because you have daughters. But I'm always like, So you're saying it's not fair that... Yeah, that standard should go across the board. Like, however you feel. Because if you felt like your daughter was being fast, you would most certainly reel her back in. Yeah. And so it's like, if you have a son, that expectation, it's not fair to your daughter or to him that your expectation would be.
You know the best way to scare children into not having sex is show visual pictures of sexually transmitted diseases and then make it seem like it's yours. So it's not like a Googleable thing. You be like, yo, this is me. At your age, this was me. And it has reminded me every single time I tried to have unprotected sex. That's how you scare children.
Well, I will say my parents worked in the health field. So, like, not only did we have the whole banner of we're Christians and the Bible says, we also had mom who would come in and talk around the dinner table about 16-year-olds who got burnt with like all these incurables. All that. And she would go into detail of what it looked like and what it smelled like. Oh. And you just like, you know what? I don't want that. So thank you, Stephanie, for sharing that. Yep.
Smell like, sheesh.
It was, listen. And I'm not and I think luckily, and I think your oldest is like this too. Like, you don't, if you tell me what the repercussion is, I'm good. Like, I don't have to try it for myself. Yeah. And so, like, for a kid like me, that was it. Like, cool, good. Nope. Yeah, man.
And the thing is, you never, when it comes to children and sex, and you don't want to break that trust with them because now they're extra hiding stuff from you. Yeah. And you never want to become that, like, I have to walk on eggshells around my mom or dad because I want to do this, but I can't tell them this. Like, I'm at a point right now that I'm really like, this is my daughter's like circle. I'm like right here of like opening up inside that because it's very uncomfortable for her to talk to me about boys. Yeah. I'm sure every daughter has that conversation because she thinks that I'm like a TV dad that's going to lash out and say, where is he? And I'm going to put him in a headlock and feed him noogies.
I would still tell, like, if I was dating somebody right now, like, it was serious, I would tell my mom before I told my dad, and then I would, like, tell dad a little bit later. Yeah. I still have the
ceremony.
No, because I need him to pay for it, so I would tell him before that. But it's just, I definitely get that. Dads have good advice, and you can always go to, like, if you have, you know, somebody to talk to, your dads are usually...
It's imperative. My daughter hates this, but it's imperative. I've burnt this in her head that when you wake up in the morning, you speak to me and you give me a hug. When you go to sleep at night, you speak to me and give me a hug.
Threaten her to give me...
Good morning, Dad. Hug. Because it's a blessing to wake up. Yeah. I'm letting her know that I love you no matter what. If we had an argument last night, I'm letting you know that before you go to bed, I'm going to say I love you and I'm hugging you and putting you to bed. Yeah. After the whooping. No. But when you wake up, we starting our day off, I want to say I love you, you know, and go up and go about your day. I want to remind them and keep like showing them the standard of having a loving male in their lives. Yeah. And if they don't see that, they don't feel comfortable with a new local joker that feels like they can kind of just waltz in there and just kind of high five and try to get what they want. Yeah. So I definitely show them value of themselves, that I need this more than you need the hug. Like, I need this. I want to show you that I love you. Hug me. Love me.
You give them the intangibles that another guy will one day be able to achieve, but not anybody just trying to run game.
Absolutely.
And so...
Open the door up for your girls. That's huge. Because I know a lot of this new generation to open the doors up for them. But I want them to say, my dad does this. You should do it. Mm-hmm. So I want them to feel uncomfortable. Like, I really got to work to please this woman. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts let us know your thoughts on virginity with children. Is it safe to still not have your virginity? What's the word I'm looking for?
I would say this, like, also, like, so in teaching, if you're going to teach abstinence to your child, make sure it's not just to one child. Teach it to both gender specific, both genders. But what are your thoughts? Is it harmful to teach your kids abstinence, or should you create a space where they know they can talk about sex and having safe sex?
Mm-hmm.
Which, yes, they should. Absolutely. They should be able to have safe sex if they're having sex, but whatever.
Right. I like to go full throttle threats. You're going to get pregnant. You're going to get an STD. I give them the worst case scenario. So by any chance...
Have you ever done honesty, though?
Okay, I'm joking. I don't do this.
I was like,
I'm joking.
Don't do that.
Yeah. I didn't have that conversation. That's another good discussion. Did you have the conversation with your parents?
Yes.
I didn't have the conversation.
I had it way too many times.
I found out the hard way when it comes to a conversation, because my mom found me in the bed with somebody and was like, Dion, you out here screwing these hussies? That's exactly how my mom sounds. And as I got caught, it never...
So did you feel like you were doing something wrong?
No. I mean, I knew not to have sex in my mom's house, which I did and got caught. I knew that was wrong. Who wants that? All I'm saying is I never had the conversation of don't have sex, do have sex.
Well,
and protect yourself.
We had the conversations.
Yeah. So, yeah, let us know your thoughts. Did your parents have the sex conversation, the birds and the bees, and or have you had the conversation with your children about virginities and the difference between the conversation with your daughters and the conversations with your sons? All right, I am Dion Lack.
I'm Twilla Amin.
This is FIXIT-N-Post, and you have been a phenomenal audience.
The snozberries taste like snozberries. What?